Ladies and gentlemen, live here on 100 Yards of Football. Sit back, relax, and buckle your seatbelts. For today, we have a dynamic individual that we will explore from the 901, the hometown of your host, Vincent Turner. Ladies and gentlemen, today we go to the great city of Memphis, Tennessee, where they produced a 6'3", 200-pounder wide receiver from the years 1978 to 81. This young man went on from the great city of Memphis after participating in high school athletics in three sports and excelling at a high level in the sport of baseball, all state, in the sport of basketball, all state, and definitely representing in the great sport, the manly sport of football. Wamon Buggs, ladies and gentlemen, who went on to rank second in the SEC in receiving in both 1980 and 81, joins us this morning right here and currently serving as the NFLPA representative in the great city and the Nashville metro area. Ladies and gentlemen, he's been a coach, an educator, a counselor, and a mentor and a surrogate parent for students all throughout the Nashville school system. For the least, the left off, the left out, and ladies and gentlemen, here to represent it. Please welcome Wamon Buggs to 100 Yards of Football.
If you like the video, if you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. Special thanks to the team on 100 Yards of Football before we get started this morning. To my business partner, Mr. Ronnie Keebler of Brooklyn, New York, and who's been a great asset to us the last 2 years from Delray Beach. First round draft pick, 1981 draft, Florida State finest, Mr. Bobby Butler of the Atlanta Falcons. And most of all, to the gentleman behind the scenes, I'm making no bones. Y'all been following me here on 100 Yards Football. I would not be where I'm at if it wasn't from these young men from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Mr. Jeremiah Long. And all I can say is today, please, if you like the video, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate here at 100 Yards Football. I'm going to start with this. I've been in the great Atlanta metro area for, I want to say, 23 years. I've been trying to get into the sports world here in Atlanta metro area, different platforms, small group radio. But now, dreams come to fruition when you kind of keep God first. And today is going to be one of my greatest days in my life. Because the gentleman on that screen, we're going back childhood. Because, see, I saw this gentleman. Me and him are the same age. And anyone that knows Vincent Turner, when I talk about my hometown, I talk about all the great athletes. John Gunn, Penny Hardaway, Larry Finch, Johnny Newman, Terrell Millington, Philip Jett, Kevin Milan, Tim Harris, Charles Greenhill. But if you ask anybody, they always say Vincent brings up this guy, Wamon Buggs. Now, the gentleman, and I'm not going to get long-winded, but we're going to go back. The first of my knowledge, see, we went to area schools. I went to Southside. He went to Hamilton. And we knew of him as a sophomore, 10th grader. But when he came to prominence in my life, was the district finals. We had a pretty good basketball team in 1976 that was really picked to win the state championship. Reginald Cofield, Theodis Moore, Philip Bridgeport, Kevin Brown, Ray Urban. And we played Hamilton in the championship game to go on to the sub-state. And this gentleman played forward. And he scored 19 points that evening. And I'm sitting up in the stand saying, now, I know he's a good football player, but how in the world is he good in basketball? And he was rocking that afro, that stay soft, and it wasn't moving. And he was dark like me, and he was shooting, back in the day in the gym, when you shot that body, you said, ooh. Then, my senior year at Southside High School, you can do the research work. To this day, the greatest high school football game in the state of Tennessee. Number 2, Hamilton. Number 1, Christian Brothers. Played at Liberty Bowl Stadium. Right now, that's home of the Memphis Tigers. 50,000 fans. They had to move the game from Friday to Thursday night in late October. It was a beautiful scene. Hamilton could not compete for a state title that year simply because of the incident that happened the previous season. But that night, it was just special. It was electric. It was Sam and Dave. It was Stack Records. It was Elvis Presley. The whole nation of Memphis was right there inside that bowl. Hamilton won that game 13-12 that night. You know who made the key play? Mr. Wamon Buggs. An interception, he wore number 1. Christian Brothers went on to win the state title that year. Won it in Liberty Bowl Stadium. I believe it beat Chattanooga Red Bank. But Hamilton was the uncrowned state champion. Now, this young man became, I believe, the first player in the city of Memphis to be named All-State in 3 sports: baseball, basketball, football. And I remember when he accepted the award because he was on front cover of our city newspaper, Commercial Appeal, with that bruised smile he had. The number 1 athlete in our city and the number 1 athlete in the state. Then I'm going to tell you, not only he did it on the field, he went to Vanderbilt. Now think about this. Vanderbilt is one of the best academic schools in the country. Right now, you got to have a 1505 to get in, and a 3.83, and a 37 on your ACT. Then you think about all the alumni that came out of Vanderbilt: Al Gore, Skip Bayless, Dana Shore, Amy Grant, David Brinkley, Lamar Alexander. And to have them on 100 yards of football today, it's an honor. It's almost a blessing. And before I bring them up, when I talk about all the high school football players and great athletes from high school football, basketball, I've seen some great ones in Memphis: Winston Ford, Vincent Moore, Carlton Peoples, Mark Studaway, Jerry Knowlton, Philip Jett, Keith Simpson, Eric Harris, Winston Neely, Glenn Rogers Jr., the late great Charles Greenhill, James Thompson, Larry Finch, John Gunn, Alvin Wright, Xavier Crawford, Albert Means, Richard Blaster Madison, Cleo Pete, Dale Hopper, Oscar Reed, Marlon Barnes. I can go all. But today, we got the famous in the state of Tennessee, Mr. Wamon Buggs. And now when I bring him up, he gonna really understand this. See, everybody know how proud I am down here in Memphis. So I'm gonna say this: Colonial Acres, South Memphis, Raleigh, Orange Mound. See, Mr. Buggs understand where I'm coming from. Lakeview, Valentine. It's a special day. So it's my honor. I've done a lot of talking. The legend himself, Mr. Wamon Buggs. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much, guys, for having me on the show.
Yes, sir. Let's go back to your high school career. And the one thing that I know about you in the 10th grade, just tell us about your journey, man. So from small school, high school, and then to Vanderbilt.
Well, let me start, Vincent, by saying I was actually scheduled to be bused to Overton High School. I attended Cora Junior High School. We had great athletes, and we had a meeting at the end of the season, and we said, guys, let's all go to Hamilton. They're like, man, we're not gonna go to Hamilton. You're not gonna be able to play, man. They got some good players. And my decision was to say, man, I'm not riding no bus to Overton High School. Uh, I'm just not feeling that, man. I said, so we split up, man. Half of us of our starting team, we walked to Hamilton. Back in those days, we could walk to school. Uh, and the other half went to Overton. I said, guys, you know we're gonna face each other. We're gonna whoop y'all's butt when we play you. And I'm gonna be honest, Vincent, it was tough, man. Jose Alexander was a tough head coach, and it was basically running back uh, USA there. I'm like, well, man, I got to get the ball. So anyway, I stuck with it, man, and I wanted to be at Hamilton because we had the prettiest girls, and
No,
it's a good environment. Uh, all of my family members attended Melrose High School in Orange Mountain. I'm like, man, I can't. I got to do something different. I was always a different child, man. I had to go against the grain, and that was probably one of the best decisions I made. It was a little tough, man, because I was like, man, I can't do this. It was very, very. Basically, Hamilton prepared me for college before I got there, as far as being in condition, and just happened to have a tough basketball coach. He was no nonsense, man. He put pressure on me. He wanted me to play basketball in college. I was like, coach, I'm not tall enough, man. I need to be about 6'6". You know, back in the day, man, if you're not 6'6", I held my own. But, from there, if you guys remember the late Jose Alexander, TSU
yes,
graduate,
sir.
the last time I saw him, the great Randy Moss was in his hospital room because of his relationship with him in the NFL. So he's the reason why I attended Vanderbilt. Arkansas was in the mix when Lou Holtz was the head coach. I'd actually committed to University of Tennessee when Johnny Majors was the coach, but my mom didn't really feel him, and I ended up attending Vanderbilt University, and probably one of the best decisions I ever made from an academic standpoint. I knew what I had to do. And just so happened I took advantage of the athletics and happened to be on the same 81 team as Herschel Walker. Can you believe that? I'm a little disappointed in him right now, but I asked somebody, could I get my name taken off that list? They told me, hell no, you earned it and just keep it. So that's where I'm at. And I'm back in this great city of Nashville after I finished playing and met my lovely wife, and my family is here. We've been here since 1989.
I know, going back to the perspective, like I said, I grew up not far from you. I grew up like in the Longview Heights area. And the buzz was when you finish your career, man, like I said, people, you don't understand this gentleman right here. Like I said, in all three sports, this gentleman played. And the thing that was really amazing after you finished your great career at Hamilton, a lot of people thought you was going to lean to go to Tennessee. You was recruited by a lot of schools. But the thing I want you to take us back is to that Thursday night game. High Intention was, to me, the greatest high school football game, going against Christian Brothers that evening. And you making that outstanding interception to save the game. And then ready to lower the next day in the front of the Commercial Appeal, our area newspaper. Buggs has sealed the victory for Hamilton High School. The moment right there.
I'm gonna be honest, Vincent. I mean, that was I can go back to, everybody knows the history of Memphis with Dr. King being killed in Memphis, our social injustices, and unfortunately, they had to move the game because the game was scheduled for, if I'm not mistaken, Crump Stadium, and that was not, because we didn't have a home field in Hamilton. Crump was our home location, and they said we got to move this game because we're expecting hundreds and thousands of people. And what I saw that night were Keith Simpson, Eric Harris, all the alumni coming back, and I'm like, damn, man, what's going on? This is serious. And our school classmates were harder on us than our coaches, man. If you didn't win a game, you come back to school the next day, man, your girlfriend might quit you. Like, man, you a loser. So we were under a lot of pressure to win, but we knew why we came to Hamilton, and I can remember that night. It was a little nippy. And as a receiver, now remember I told you I went to Running Back USA. All the players I played with, Alonzo Bolden, Kevin Lomax, we didn't have enough football. So any way I can get my damn hands on the ball, I was going to get it. In that particular game, I may have caught one pass and got hurt. They tried to take, every time I played Christian Brother, they tried to take me out. They went for my knees. The guy hit in the knee. And Ronnie Skinner was their quarterback, and they were behind, and they had to throw. I'm like, they're not getting this pass attempt. It's not going to be completed. And I actually intercepted 2 passes back to back, and that sealed the game for us. So it was a special moment. I got hurt in that game, but I recovered because of the great condition that our coaches had us in, and never looked back. And we talk about that today. The secret weapon of that game actually was Demetrius Fitzgerald. He actually had more receptions than I did that year, but when I did catch one, it was normally for a touchdown or I would get it on defense. I was just a ball hawk back then. So that was a special moment. I never forget it. My mom kept all the clippings, and you amaze me because the information you have, I have, and I think you've gone a little bit deeper. So this is really interesting, and it brings it back. But, somebody asked me the other day, said, man, why hadn't your name been mentioned to your high school for Hall of Fame? I said, man, I don't worry about that. As long as I got my data that my mom kept with my scrapbook, hey, it's all good. Carlton Peoples is in there. All those names you mentioned are in my sports memorabilia photo album that I have. So I keep those memories, man. Sometimes you get caught up in Hall of Fame stuff. I'm like, I'm just trying to live the life and keep it moving. But it did get my attention. I'm like, for what I accomplished and what you mentioned, I still to this day don't know what athlete has done what I've done, especially being the male athlete of the year. I like to research that to find out who else did that, who else accomplished that.
Well, brother, I can tell you right now, going back in my 62 years, it has never been an athlete in our hometown or the state of Tennessee that's made all-state baseball, football, and basketball. If somebody can tell me or hit me on my Facebook page here, one of y'all, so if I even call my phone number 770-850-0088, please tell me, because this gentleman right here, he's the only one that I know. Now let's talk about Vanderbilt.
Yes, sir.
Little Rock Memorial Stadium. I'm a freshman at the University of Arkansas. September the 17th, Vanderbilt comes down with Fred Pankos. I'm in the stand with some newly friends that I made in Arkansas. Back then you get them student tickets.
Right.
I'm up in the stands. I said, man, I'm telling Vic, I said, you see that gentleman right there? That guy right there last year was the best football player, one of the best basketball players, and one of the best baseball players in my hometown. His name is Wamon Buggs. And they looked at me and said, Vince, get out of here, get out of here. Hey, man, true freshman made the traveling team. And you know this, Raymond, it was hot that night with that AstroTurf. It was hot.
Yes, it was.
And so after that, I kept up with your career. Your junior and senior year, you balled. As you just mentioned, first team all SEC your senior year. Players on that team, Buck Ballou, locally here, quarterback at Georgia. Lindsey Scott, Johnny Cook's outstanding linebacker at Mississippi State. Jim Bob Harris, who's from Athens, Georgia, the free safety over there at Alabama. And you made first team. But what people don't know today, and I want y'all to listen very closely here, 100 Yards Football, especially people in Texas. I don't mean to throw no flowers or stones this morning, but I got to say it. The Great Bear Bryant, who everybody say walks on water in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You know what he said? Now, Bear Bryant has coached a lot of players, great players. Joe Willie Namath, Chinchilla Colt on Broadway, Leroy Jordan. Do I have to say any more? Richard Todd, Ozzie Newsome, Don McNeil, E.J. Jr. But you know what Bear Bryant said before he went to glory? He said, the best wide receiver that the University of Alabama in my coaching career, because Bear Bryant has coached at Maryland, Kentucky, Texas A&M and at Alabama for 25 years. It's this gentleman right here on the screen, Mr. Wamon Buggs. He's by far the best wide receiver I ever went against. So, Mr. Buggs, explain us. He'll proudly, because he's from the 901. What took your game each year as a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, took your game to another level at Vanderbilt at the receiver position?
Well, Vincent, you have to understand, man. This is what I had to do, man. I was not coming back to Memphis without, first of all, my onion skin, my degree. And, Big John Merritt, TSU, actually came to my home and recruited me. But I told my mom, I said, I'm not feeling TSU. I said, Mom, Hamilton was just like TSU. And I wasn't going to play, man, until my senior year at TSU. I knew that. I got to go somewhere where I can be on TV, get a good education. And it just so happened, man, the Lord said, man, I'm going to put you right here. Your parents can come see you play. Not too far from home. You can always get back home. But I'm going to tell you, man, the competition, the first year, man, we lost 10 games. I hadn't lost 10 games from junior high and high school combined. I'm like, man, I got to change. I'm getting ready to leave. I was going to transfer. I got to thinking, man, listen, just stay here. You're here for a reason. Get your degree. You can still help this school be the best that it could be. And man, I just wanted to win, man. If I could play defense, I would have hit Herschel Walker. My guy, they were scared to tackle him. I would have hit him dead in his chest. But like I say, I couldn't play defense. And say, hey man, you play wide receiver. That's your position. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna be the best that I can be. So as I was sharing with you, Vincent, my secret to me getting better, I was strong. We had great strength coach, Doc Crease, one of the best conditioned strength coaches in the country at that time. I know you remember the scandal we had here with the drugs and stuff, man. We had guys pulling trucks and stuff, man. I was like, but I got in there and I wasn't the one to get into that drug stuff, man. But I got stronger. And I actually went to Tennessee State University, Mike Jones, wide receiver. That's how I learned how to run cuts. That's what they call the pass route, cuts. So when I came to my junior year, I was behind Preston Brown, the great Preston Brown, still has a state track record here in Tennessee. And my senior year, I actually, on the back of that card you all got, they got it incorrect. I was the leading receiver in the nation that year, and number one in the conference. They had me second back to back, but I can't change that print. But I took pride in that. And, Mississippi State, you talked about the Johnny Cooks, man. I'm talking about we battled, man. But I made sure the guys that were over me were going to be defeated. I know John Madden was talking about what's the safety that played the UT that made his all-iron team?
Bill Bates.
I used to tear his lunch up. I told Bill Bates, and our homeboy can attest for that, Carlton people. I said, man, you in trouble today. You cannot cover me. Brian Ingram telling me, they said, man, y'all need to leave him alone and worry about somebody else. He ain't scared of nothing. Leave him alone. So that was the challenge, man. And, the unfortunate part about it, I was, making all those accolades. And, we're in a political world. I'm from Memphis. We can be a little outstanding when we open our mouths and, the cockiness that we have. That's all I knew, Vincent. And when it came to draft time, man, I think I got shafted by my coaches. Pan coach had retired, was forced to retire, and McIntyre came in, and unfortunately, some negative things were said to me to the NFL scouts, and I went from a projected third-round draft choice with Mike Quick to a free agent. And despite that, went to Green Bay with the great James Lofton, John Jefferson, still made the roster, but they ended up releasing me for a linebacker. And that's when I knew then, I said, this is a whole different game. But I got my degree, which a lot of players didn't get back then. And I said, well, I'm going to give it the best shot. And then the great George Allen called me. And I'm like, who is this, man? Quit playing on my damn phone. He said, I hung up on it. He called back. Wait a minute, this is George Allen. I'm like, Coach, really? Are you serious? He said, we want you to play for us. I've been following you. And that's when I ended up playing for him until I got hurt. And that's pretty much my career. And now just who would have thought that I would be the president of the NFLPA Players Association in Nashville. And I meet some of these guys I played against. I'm like, man, ain't no way in the hell you were better than me. But like I say, man, you can't. All you can do is wish them the best. Anthony Hancock is the president of the Knoxville chapter. I played against him, and I told Anthony, I said, man, you went first round, but you couldn't hold my jock. And we talk about it, but it's just the way things happen. That was my goal, to take care of my mom, and unfortunately, it didn't happen the way I wanted. God had something else for me to do, and here we are now. I'm working with kids. Met my wife here. I've raised 2 lovely girls, got 2 grandsons, and man, I can't ask for any more. But like I say, do I think about what could have been? Of course, because my plan was to be set financially to be able to give back and go back to Memphis. I'd probably be back in Memphis if things had worked out. But my wife said, "No, we're not. I'm not going back to Memphis." So Nashville is my home. So that's how I went, man. I just enjoyed it. I had to compete every weekend. And I wasn't worried about Alabama and Jeremiah Castile. I said, man, I'm going to eat your lunch. Only 2 defensive backs I ever had a problem with was All-America from Maryland, the defensive back, played for the Kansas City Chiefs. I can't remember his name right now.
Lloyd Burrs.
Lloyd Burrs. That brother shut me down. And then Don McNeil from Alabama, All-American. Those were the only 2 defensive backs that I played against that shut me out from catching an out route. Out. That's how good these brothers were. So that's when I had to go back and reevaluate my game. So my junior, senior year, it wasn't nobody going to hold me on the line, press releases, all that. I went to TSU and I learned how to come off the ball. And my senior year, that was the result. So I didn't practice at Vandy in the summer. I was over at Tennessee State in the hole, and that's where it went down.
Now you played 2 years in USFL, so now I'm gonna ask you, what was it like going up against Frank Minifield?
Well, Trumaine Johnson and I, you talk
the
about
great Trumaine Johnson of Grambling.
Trumaine Johnson.
From the Atlanta side.
Right. We were the starting wide receivers, and I got to learn even more techniques to release coming off the ball. But Frank Minifield couldn't handle us, man. He was too short. We knew how to swim, and I talked to Frank all the time, man. We teased about that, man. But we gave him the blues, both of us. Trumaine was a little shorter than me. I was 6'3". Trumaine was about 6 feet, very quick. But we had great footwork, and then Frank was too short. We just swim around him, and once we got him on our hips, I don't care how fast he was, we knew how to shake and bake him, or as we call, we do a double move, and we gave him fits. But just guess what? This gentleman goes on and makes everything. And we talk about this to this day. I call him Polly. We call each other Polly. When I got hurt, my leg was so small because of the atrophy. He called me Polly. That's my nickname with him. But I talked to him a couple months ago. We stay in touch. But yeah, we helped each other get better. But man, are you talking about a gentleman that went on with Hanford Dixon and their Cleveland Browns? I said, man, I go back, Vincent again. I said, man, dude couldn't cover me. I mean, it's just the way it was. And I guess that's what Coach Allen saw in myself and Trumaine, which is very rare for a rookie to start for him. But he knew I could catch the ball. He knew I would block. He knew, I would be there consistently. Luckily, I tore my knee up at the Silver Dome on that cheap AstroTurf, and that's how I got hurt, trying to avoid a hit from hard-hitting David Greenwood back in the day.
Yes, sir. Right quick, looking at the game today. Well, let's go back a little history. Your top 3 wide receivers in your heart, your soul, and spirit. Your top 3 ever to play this game and play this game at a high level.
Oh man, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens. Those are my man. I mean, I can't. I mean, you look at their statistics, their accomplishments. There's some bad boys, man. They are some bad boys. So those would be my top 3 that I would not even. I could probably throw a few more names in there, but those are my top 3.
When you look at how the receivers are being developed now, Raymond, what is the best attribute you like seeing these great young receivers go in the first round? What really sticks out in your mind and is really impressive to you?
Man, that Justin Jefferson kid, the Chase kid at Cincinnati, man, those young men are catching the ball with one hand when I would try to catch it with two. I've made some great catches in my day with one hand, but man, these brothers are making catches like it's unbelievable. So they're very talented. They're great route runners. They're not real big guys. You don't have to be now because the game has changed. It's not as physical because they've taken the defense, from hitting the quarterback and back in the day, we would get hit pretty good. But now guys are on the defensive side are more cover guys as opposed to your real hard hitters. So it's basically an offensive game now. But those guys can flat out play. Cooper Kupp, bad boy, man. They're bad boy. Those guys can really play.
And finally, to all the people here who's been watching 100 Yards Football and they know my heart and soul, why I'm so proud, can you please explain to the people what makes Memphis, Tennessee so special? I know here recent over the years, there's been a lot of bad marks to our city, but back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, please tell these people what was so special growing up in that great city down there on the Mississippi River.
Well, Vincent, historically, people may not be aware. My parents, I'm originally from Orange Mound, Tennessee, Laurel Avenue, or they want to call it specifically Laurel Street. And Memphis actually was, according to housing authorities, we didn't have projects back in Memphis. Everybody in Orange Mound, I think Orange Mound was one of the top communities where people were homeowners. Y'all excuse my background, that's my principal talking. But basically, man, just being a part of what happened with the history of Dr. King, it just made me who I am, man. The toughness, the sorrow that we experienced with him being shot in our hometown. I'm proud, man. I still get challenged up here in Nashville. Say, "Oh man, you from Memphis?" I said, "Man, every day to the day I die, I'm proud of my hometown, and I still get goosebumps when I go back home. I'm gonna get me some barbecue. You just can't beat it. So, when I meet with the other NFL presidents across the country and we come together and have our leadership meetings. Larry Mallory, I see him at the meetings. And it's just great that Memphis still produces great people. Keith Simpson lives in Houston. We got people all across the country where Memphis was their blueprint. And I would not hesitate telling people, although we got negativity going on, shootings everywhere, Memphis is on the top of that list, but Nashville has their share of it too. I'm still proud to say I'm a Memphian.
Well, I don't have to say no more. Like I said before, and I've said over the years until the day I die, I've been very blessed in my 62 years to follow this great game of football, both on the high school, college, and professional level. To make no bones, this gentleman that's in front of me is, to me, the best high school football player I've seen play. There's no bones. And the thing that's so ironic, I went to the other school on the other side of South Memphis, on the other side of Elvis Presley, Southside High School that's not in existence no more. And he went to Hamilton High School. And I'm going to tell you this. I know that living here in the metro Atlanta area, and you get to talking football and get to talking high school and everybody down in the state of Texas, you know what I'm talking about. They want to say Texas has got the greatest high school players. Then, of course, South Florida, Bobby Butler always tells me it's going down in South Florida, down on the beaches. But let me tell you something. The Lord has blessed me today. Because if you would have told me here in my home that I would have the greatest football player, all three sport athlete in front of me, and we're talking about what happened back in our school days, I would have looked at you crazy. I'm going to be honest. And I saw this gentleman grow. And think about this. He brought up a good point in our interview today. And we're just going to be real. I was at Arkansas from 78 to 81. Luckily, I got out in 4 years. But think about Mr. Buggs here. He went to Vanderbilt, the epitome of academic schools. And he graduated and got his degree in 4 years. One of the top schools in the country, man. Granted, it might have not went over on the field. And then even on the 4-7 football team at senior, he made first team all SEC. And them players that made that team, Herschel Walker, first team, Buck Ballou, Lindsey Scott, Johnny Cooks. You can't get no better than that. Jeremiah Castile. And you know what's about that all SEC first team? The coaches voted for it. But would I get chill bumps that people don't know about when I talk about this gentleman here? Of course, he's from my hometown, but I go back to the night in 77, Hamilton versus Christian Brothers. But most of all, I want y'all to let that resonate in y'all head. He had to be pretty sharp academically to get through Vanderbilt. I'm sorry. He had to be pretty sharp. Ain't too many athletes going around saying that. So, Mr. Raymond Buggs, your final words today here on 100 Yards of Football, sir.
Listen, thank you so much for muting. My principal got a little long-winded. I just want to say, man, you know, we former players have a hell of a challenge in front of us. I know a lot of guys don't. I've heard Charles Barkley say, hey, man, I don't want to be a role model, but we really are, man. A lot of people watch us, man, and Vincent shared some stuff with me I didn't know. He knew the young lady I dated, saw my car, like, yeah, he knew. So you have to really, really be careful what you say, what you do. And the reason why I came to school up here, number one, I knew I was going to be challenged. I knew it wasn't going to be too many people that looked like me in my classroom. So when I went to class, man, sometimes I was the only piece of pepper or ink, however you want to call it, in the classroom. But I knew one thing, that I know where I came from, and I was not going back to Memphis without my degree. That was the first thing. Secondly, you know, great conference, you know, to make the UPI and AP first team all SEC, you had to have done something. And it's just now sinking in, Vincent, that you resonated back to me what I accomplished. You know, I tell my daughters, you know, I don't try to talk about this stuff too much to my wife. She's not a athletic background person, although she went to high school with Charles Davis, you know, who played in the NBA for a few years. I don't have sons, so my coaching young boys were my sons, so I don't get to talk about what I accomplished. She said, you must be pretty good. We had some guys say, oh, you married to Mr. Buggs? And she said, you must have been pretty good in your day. And I just, you know, shrug it off like, yeah, baby, I tried to handle my business, but I'm not done, because I got to take care of you even more. Like I said, I didn't get what I wanted to get on the front end for my football accolades, but God's going to take care of me in a different way. So, man, I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to be alive. I'm glad to have all my limbs at this point, man. So me 62 years old, and to still be able to get around, man, it's a blessing, man. So a lot of guys are not doing as well physically, mentally. It's just a lot going on right now. So I'm just blessed, man, to, number one, say I'm from Memphis. Number one, a graduate of Vanderbilt University. Number two, I just like to be putting myself in a situation where I could be the best of the best. Now I'm working on my business career where I could be in the top 100% of money earners, so I can give back. And if I had my way of teaching school, I'd be teaching these kids how to be entrepreneurs. Forget all these standardized tests. That's not helping them. They need to be able to be taught how to take care of themselves. They're moving us out, man. We're being gentrified out of our communities in Memphis, everywhere across the country. Our people are being moved out, and that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Well, my final words today, I'd like to say very special thanks and blessings to you, Mr. Raymond Buggs, for coming here on 100 Yards Football on our platform today.
Hey, man, thank you, Vincent. Thank you so much.
My final words today. I'm not going to use no music reference as I always do in the past, but I'm going to say this. When God has got your back, it's nothing nobody can do. Trust me. And when I go through my life, I have a lot of great memories. And my memories are when I went to high school, middle school, and elementary. And I was raised by two great parents who are still living today. Inez Turner, who's 83 years old, and my father, Chester Turner, who's 85. And my three sisters are still living. Bridget in New Orleans, Stephanie in Memphis, and Rhonda right there with Mr. Buggs in Nashville.
Wow.
But the thing about it is, I wouldn't give up my childhood for nothing. Growing up in Tennessee during that time, it was the greatest years of my life. Then going on to the University of Arkansas, then going throughout my life and where I'm at now. Mr. Buggs brought up a good point. Like him, I'm just thankful to be where I'm at now with my health. But make no bones, as I continue with this great team I have over here at 100 Yards Football, Mr. Jeremiah Long, Mr. Mark Bass, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Ron Key, I'm going to let the world know that I'm from that 901. And we got some ballers that's in the past that was at a high level. And today I had one of them on 100 Yards Football today. First team, all SEC. Brad Bryant, the great Brad Bryant. You can research it. Say he was the greatest receiver he coached against and seen play. And he's got that paper from Vanderbilt. It can't get no better than that, baby. And he's from the 901. So I'm going to leave y'all with this. Ain't no place like Orange Mile. Ain't no place like South Memphis. The roof is on fire. And it was on fire in Memphis, Tennessee. It was on fire at Hamilton High School. It was on fire at Southside High School. But there ain't no place like home, baby. Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you, Mr. Wamon Buggs. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate here 100 Yards Football. David Porter, Stack Records, Larry Finch, Elvis Presley. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Buggs. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football.